Well, it's like nice and classical sounding. It almost sounds like this is like a highbrow show, you know? It's
right. I like
har-
that.
I know it's a really cool song. And what, man? I need some whiskey, not a beer and a cigarillo over here. I need some whiskey or something like scotch.
I got an IPA. I don't even like IPA, but
oh, thank you. I don't really
it's what I have.
for
It's
IPAs
poopy.
either.
No, I don't. I went down to my local Shell, and if you want something that has 9% alcohol, you get IPA, and I got IPA.
IPA or malt liquor.
Yeah, I have natural ice in the fridge.
Yeah, I had an ice house the other day because my dad used to drink a lot of that. I was like, man, going with malt liquor stuff. Anyway, on Hard Talk Radio, your host, MrDeadman. With me tonight is Robert Essig.
Essig, you got
Essig.
it.
All
you
right.
didn't put an N in there like most people. They say Essig. It's Essig. Yes.
Well, I
don't know why.
I'm not that drunk yet. Only I had some Gentleman Jack before I started the stream, so I'm not putting in letters in your name yet. But maybe during the show we'll find out.
There's time.
Now, a quick shout out real fast for a promo that's happening right now. That's going to happen for this weekend, today, tomorrow, and Sunday. Okay, you can get Damascus Mintzmeyer's book. He is an author. He's also the artist guy who worked on the covers for Dead Man's Tome. You've probably seen him before. There's the artwork behind me. Okay, really good art. He has a book out there. It has a collection of 18 stories. Let me go ahead and put it on the screen here for you guys to see it. Let's go ahead and do that right now. Bam. Okay, so this is going to be free right now for Kindle. So you can download it. No cost to you. It's free. You could literally go, oh man, let me go check out this book. I'm interested. It's free. You can't make it any better than that. Okay. The only reason why you would not get it is because you don't have a Kindle or you couldn't even be bothered. But it's really good.
Yeah.
It's really good, man. Damascus Mintzmeyer is a great author. He's also a great artist, a good overall good guy. So check that out. It's gonna end Sunday at midnight. So there's that. And look, I'll put in this thing on the Kindle thing. If it's not free on the UK side or whatever, I don't control that. Okay. So if that is what it is, come at me and I'll get you a free copy of the ebook. Okay. So there's that. Anyway, let's go ahead and get this started. So, Robert, I asked one question with all my guests. That is, who are you? And what does your mom do?
Well, I'm Robert Essig. I moonlight as a horror writer because, I don't, make a living off of writing horror. So in the daytime, I do construction type work here in around about Knoxville, Tennessee. What does my mom do? My mom's retired in Arizona. We'll leave it at that.
Oh man, I totally botched the question. I always do. No, who are you and what do you do? But you got construction. Okay, you balance out with construction and then horror writing. So far,
right.
your writing doesn't pay the bills yet. Maybe one day it will.
That's
okay.
So yet since 2008, I've been saying yet years and years and years. That's okay.
A lot of us have. A lot of authors that come on the show
Yes.
have. Now, I will tell you, if you want that hope, that carrot to dangle in front of you some more, I have authors that have been on the show that have been traditionally published and they have success, and then authors that were self-published and they've also had success where they pay for their own. How they do it, they explain it in those episodes. I can tell you it's a lot of hard work and it's constantly grinding.
Yes.
And they also manage their lifestyle too. So
right.
there's that. Anyway.
I know the writing's always the fun part.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, and I set aside a time to do that every single day. I wake up early. I write for an hour at least, before work and everything. But yeah, there's a lot more that goes into it, especially with the self-published type of thing, right? With the, promoting yourself and getting out there, which is my weak point for sure.
It's a lot of people's weak point. I mean,
yeah.
Even indie publishers, when you work with an indie publisher, they have to constantly promote and advertise. And if that indie publisher guy is working, he might have to, manage his time and figure out, how to best do that. Anyway, so, but why horror? Like, what got you into horror?
Well, I'm not completely sure why, but I know that for whatever reason, when I was a kid, and my mom would go to the market. And I've said this before in interviews. You know, I would always sit at the magazine rack and I'd look at Fangoria. Fangoria drew me, and I look at Fangoria. I look at everything in there. Late 80s, early 90s. And something about it really, you know, I was drawn to it. And we go to the video discount, the local mom and pop video store, and I would be drawn to the horror section. Flip that movie around, you see those little thumbnails of Jason's mother's severed head or something, and there's something about it that really is like, oh wow, you know, it's kind of like scary. I don't know what it was. That's what initially drew me to horror. I don't know why. I didn't, you know, go to the drama section and go, wow, that's really interesting. Al Pacino in a gangster movie or something. No, I went to the horror section.
Ah, look at that. So you were drawn to the violence, maybe. I don't know. Yeah. Was it the gore? Was it the monsters? Was it, you mentioned Jason, was it like the mask murder?
I think at first it was because there was something about it was kind of like scary, you know, as a kid. You know, oh, what is this? It's kind of terrifying. But then, you know, at a pretty young age, I was allowed to watch horror movies and rent them at the video stores, and I that's all I rented, right? And then it was like, you know, there's some dark stuff, man. And it was something really interesting about stepping inside that dark world and being able to, I don't know, just play around in it, right? Look at something that you're probably not supposed to see, or at least it felt that way, especially, you know, back in the day watching the old VHS, you know, you're watching Return of the Living Dead or Dead Alive or you know, whatever, and like, oh yeah, Evil Dead.
Right? It's like you weren't supposed to watch it. It was like taboo. It was like forbidden. It was like,
yeah, it felt like that at the time, right? You know, now it doesn't feel like that, and it isn't like that because, you know, there's stuff like The Walking Dead that everyone and their mother watched, and I watched the first 5 seasons of it. You know, after I binged it years later. And I thought, oh shit, you know, when I was a kid, none of my friends' parents would have watched this, but they did. And that was weird, you know?
Yeah, it really, that series really popularized the zombies even more so. And
yeah.
Which in this stream, in this episode, we're definitely going to talk about horror movies, horror shows, old versus new. Also get into horror writing related stuff, as in like, how do you feel as a horror author when you sell your stuff, the good and the bad?
Yeah,
there's a little bit more. Let's explore a little bit more about what got you into horror. So it does seem like it's that taboo, kind of scary element. Like, were your parents strict about what you could watch?
No, not particularly. I mean, when I lived in proximity of 3 little mom and pop video stores, and one of them I could ride my bike to, and I would rent horror movies, and they'd have to call my mom. And then eventually my mom said, it's okay. As long as it's not an X-rated movie, he can rent it. I don't care. And I rented everything. I came home with Faces of Death, everything. And my mom did at one point. I think I came home with like Faces of Death, the best of Faces of Death and death scenes. And she said, you know what? You can only rent one of that type of movie at a time. I said, okay, that's fine. But I bring Hellraiser and all this other stuff. And yeah, I just saturated my brain with horror movies at a very young age, and loved it. You know.
Well, I think it's kind of similar to my story. I mean, I found horror through. I said it before, through my mom. Like, she was a fan of Halloween. I was playing one day, I watched it with her, and it changed my world. It did. Now, as far as horror, go ahead.
Perfect classic. I love Halloween. So it's a perfect horror movie, in my opinion.
Now, as far as horror writing goes, I mean, you could make money, probably even more money, writing other genres like crime, thriller, or maybe some erotica on the side.
Right. Yeah, a lot of people do write erotica on the side to make extra cash.
Yeah. I mean, you got a pen name out there?
I don't have a pen name out there. Plenty of people have, like, you know, Bigfoot erotica and shit. I don't have a pen name for any of that stuff.
Oh yeah,
I just write what I write.
Dude, that stuff sells. It's insane. Bigfoot erotica. And if you make it certain ways, yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
so but you could be writing that and making more money, but you're writing horror. Why is that?
Because that's what interests me. Let's take the zombie trope. I remember thinking, like 10 years ago when it was really just popular, I could write a zombie book and maybe I should do that because everyone's writing one. And then, no, I can't. I couldn't because I didn't feel it. If I don't feel it, I can't write it.
Right.
And I kind of struggle with that because sometimes I have multiple things going on and because I'm filling this project and I'm like, then I get tired. I'm filling this one. It's hard to focus on the thing that I know maybe, I should finish this or whatever. So no, that's why I don't write something that's just going to make money.
Right. Okay. So
I've thought about it for sure, but nah, I don't think I could do it.
Okay. Yeah. That makes sense. You write what you know, you write what you want to write.
Yeah. What I want to write, what I'm passionate about. Without that passion, I don't even know why would I write.
So that's cool. That's cool. And I think a lot of people come from a place like that where they write what they want to write and they're not really persuaded by the money, which is good. I think there's something to that. Now, are there certain themes that you like to tackle with your work?
Well, it's not that there are themes I like to tackle on purpose that's thought out, but if I look at my body of work, I think that there is a theme of being trapped that comes through.
Being trapped. Okay.
Right.
Like,
for instance, my book Stronger Than Hate deals with an older woman who gets stuck in a sinkhole. She's trapped. An early novella I wrote called The Madness has to do with a guy who's trying to get home through a snowstorm, and he ends up having to take refuge in a stranger's home, and he becomes trapped. Or they trapped, however you want to look at that one, because that one has some twists and turns. And then another example is a book called Mojave Mud Caves, where people sort of become trapped in these caverns and some mountains. And I thought about it, and I was like, yeah, trapped. That's a running theme, isn't it?
It's a running theme, but it's something that resonates with a lot of us, the feeling being trapped. And you could see that illustrated or depicted in various horror movies and horror literature where you have characters that are like isolated from society. And that's kind of how it starts, right? You're cut off somehow. Maybe it's no signal here, which still happens. I live in Texas. There's some areas where you just don't get any signal.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's just an isolated area, or maybe, like you said, a sinkhole. Now, I gotta say, in that sinkhole story, how did the woman get stuck in the sinkhole? Like what happened?
Well, she's the way it is. She's out in the back of her garden, and the sinkhole just opens up, and she becomes stuck and slides.
Oh man, okay.
Now that came from an actual news story I heard. I was living in San Diego, but I heard a news story of a woman in Florida who had a sinkhole open up in her backyard, and she got stuck in it. And I thought, ooh, shit. What if the wrong people found you in that sinkhole, and no one heard you screaming out of that sinkhole? And that's where the idea came from.
Man,
it could really happen. It really happened to some woman in Florida.
I'm curious, a sinkhole in Florida, I thought maybe like the water level would make that kind of difficult.
It was a news story. I don't live in Florida. I've never even been to Florida, but I know, right? There's sinkholes. There have been sinkholes in San Diego that were pretty gnarly.
I'm not even sure what causes a sinkhole, but yeah, just imagine a sinkhole just happened like on your property and you just get stuck in it.
What exactly. What do you do? You scream and yell, and you hope the right person comes to your aid, not the wrong one.
Right?
That's what you do.
Like, if I was stuck in a sinkhole, I'd try to climb out.
Climb out, yeah. But, I would too.
Hopefully
she does, but she's an older woman. She can't climb out, and then
Oh man. Oh God.
Well, I seen it at the time I was writing the book. There was a story, I don't know where it was from, about a sinkhole that opened up underneath. It was a building that housed exotic cars, and they lost Lamborghinis and Ferraris
no
that
way.
fell into this giant sinkhole. And I was like, yeah, this story works. Sinkholes just open up and they swallow stuff. Yeah, it'll work.
That sucks. Anytime the world could just, the earth could literally open up and swallow you. That's crazy.
I know, right? Kind of scary.
It is scary. It's like that line from, what was it? American Psycho. It's just like the earth just swallow. I forgot what the line was that Patrick Bateman said. It was like the earth just like swallows these people. They just disappear. I don't know. But it's just what do you do in those situations, in those moments? I guess like you said, all you could really do is call for help. Hope help comes.
Right.
Now, are you willing to tell us a little bit in the story? Like, what does she do? How does she try to get out? Like, what are some hurdles she has to overcome?
Yeah, well, I'll tell a little bit. When she hollers, her next door neighbor, what happens, she's a retired high school teacher. Her next door neighbor is in his 20s, and he was one of the last students she had. He happens to see this go down because his window faces her, backyard. He has a 2-story house. He comes around seeing that this happens. And then she's, thanking God that, he saw this happen. And yet when he comes back with help, which she would assume be the, and this isn't giving too much away because it's the beginning of the story. Fire department or something's going to put a extension ladder down there and she can climb out. He comes back with 2 other kids that were 2 of the worst kids she ever taught back in school, who she flunked, who hate her guts.
Oh no. Why would he do that? Oh, what a douche.
He's a fucking asshole, right? I don't know.
He's like, I'll get you help, ma'am.
That's the thing. There's more to that character in the story. He has a lot of things he's dealing with. He's trying to be cool. He's trying to impress these, even though he's in his 20s at this point, he's still trying to impress what he perceived as the cool kids who were, the dickhead kids. And then it goes from there into really nasty territory.
Oh, it'll be that way sometimes. There's plenty of people who are adult age but still act like the kid or think they're a kid, right? Or still troubled by issues they could overcome through high school. Like, I didn't sit at the popular kid table, so I know, yeah. I can see that happening.
Right? I don't know. I think it's pretty plausible for an insane story about a woman falling into a sinkhole and being tortured.
Right? I'm definitely liking the premise. Definitely enjoying it. Now, what's been the feedback like for this book?
Pretty good actually. It's an extreme novel. It's it's hardcore or whatever. Which all my books seem to get very positive reviews and then always some very negative ones. It's just the way it is, which is fine. I actually there's a balance there, I guess, but this one's got, for the people who like that kind of stuff, the extreme horror, it's got very good reviews.
And that's good. And when you say extreme, like how far does it go?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Yeah.
See, the way I look at it is the people that are known for the extreme horror. So I don't really read or particularly care for extreme horror, which some people might read this book and go, really? You don't? I don't. I don't read Rath James White or Edward Lee. I've tried to. I don't like it. It's not my thing. So I feel like it doesn't go to that extreme. But I guess it's left to the readers to decide whether it does or not. Because I don't really read that kind of stuff. I don't really like that.
Okay.
I don't read just the most quiet horror in the world, but I just don't really read the very extreme stuff.
Okay. Give us an example of how far it goes without giving too much away. Just like a tease, like we're talking about vulgar language, a lot of blood, kids being killed. Like how far does it go when you say it's
okay. You have someone who's okay. Yeah. Then I start thinking about it and I go, maybe it is as bad as those other authors when you think about it. I don't know. We'll put it this way. It's a sinkhole. She's trapped in it. Some really bad people know about it.
Uh-oh.
Let's just say that they come up with something called the woman's name is Mrs. Mosley. They come up with something called the Mrs. Schmosley Shithouse Sideshow.
Oh, God.
And I'll just leave it at that.
Oh, shit.
So maybe it's pretty fucked up. But see, the thing is, I don't read that, it's just, we're letting my mind, go where it goes, and that's where it went, so.
Hey, I mean, were you shit on as a kid?
No.
I just have to ask.
No.
When you wrote this book, did it come from a point of personal experience?
Yeah, right. No, not this one. I've neither fallen into a hole, and I've neither had any of the fucked up shit happen to me that... No.
That's good, I suppose, but...
So, yeah, I guess it is pretty fucking extreme. That's the thing. I sometimes don't realize just how maybe far some of this stuff goes. Because I don't read that. I go, it's too much. I don't want to read that.
Well, don't worry about me. I'm just asking questions here, and I like extreme stuff as well. Like I've said before, there's been a handful of books I've purchased that they got 1-star reviews for being vulgar, and I was like, well, that sounds like my kind of book right there. Okay. By the way, I have the book on the screen here, Stronger Than Hate, and so definitely check it out. 13 reviews, and it's looking at 4.5. Looks like 4.7. So pretty healthy review there, rating I should say. So,
not bad.
Yeah, pretty good. Okay, so now I believe you're working on something for Death's Head Press. If we could talk about that.
I sure am. I'm writing one of them splatter westerns that have done so damn good last year, right? Those things are hotcakes. Yeah, I'm writing one of them. It's coming out in 2022. Seems so weird the time. I've only written one chapter.
That's okay. But you're working on it.
No, my thought is I'll start it at the beginning of summer by the latest, if not earlier. And I'm like, I got to get this out of my head. But yeah, I wrote a short. I've sold a couple of short stories that were Western horror stories. One of them is called Hanging Around. Hell, I can't even remember at the moment. It's a long time ago. Hanging around singing death songs. And I liked the idea, and I kind of, when I sort of contacted Jared and Patrick of Death's Head, I'd asked if they thought about doing a collection of short stories. I think they thought I meant an anthology of other authors when I meant like one person does a bunch of short stories, and they kind of weren't really into that idea. But they asked, well, would you like to write a book, for it? Because I really wanted to do a collection of short stories. So yeah, sure. I didn't have an idea at all, but I'm like, I'm not going to miss out on this. This is a great, to me, it seemed like a good opportunity. Because I've enjoyed the books that I've read from the series. It's done very well. I feel like they might have asked me if I wanted to do one in the beginning, and I said no. Because I did not have an inkling to do a horror Western for a long time. And I thought, hanging around singing death songs. I like that story. So I'm going to take that story, I'm going to expand it. I already have, the ideas in my head and stuff. For a novel or a novella, whatever it turns out to be.
Okay.
And
okay. That's cool.
One of the bases of that is there's in a nutshell, in a town, traveling musicians who get heckled and they sing a death song, and the person that heckled them dies. And over the course of a few nights of playing at that, doing their gig at that same saloon or whatever, and these people start dying, people realize what's up and want to kill them, but then they find out that they can't.
Ooh.
And we'll just leave it there. Right?
Okay. So I like what's going on here. So first off, what Death's Head Press is doing is great. Like with the splattered punk Western stuff, doing amazing, like you said. And I like that. It sounds like that they're they have authors in mind that they want to talk to and work
They do.
with. They find talent. They find talent that they're impressed by. They go, I want to work with these people. So if they came to you, so that means something. Like, how do you feel about that? How do you feel about the fact that Death Set Press selected you?
Well,
you were one of the
stronger than hate. They came to me asking for something when I sent them that. I got an email from Jared Barbie who asked, you got something, I like your work. And I was like, oh, really? And I, they were just starting. I think they had that first anthology.
And Hell's Followed?
That one, yes.
That's
and I was like, okay. And I looked them up and I was like, what kind of stuff are they publishing? I was like, yeah. Wrath James White, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. I have the perfect book for you. And I, so they sent me an email looking for that, and they published that. And then, of course, the one with Jack Bantry that we might have been talking about before we went live, Shallow Graves.
Mm-hmm.
We did that one. So I was asking, hey, I've got another book. Do you want to look at it? Blah, blah, blah. And then just through, different things of, would you look at a collection of Western stories? And then it turned out to, be a full novel or whatever.
Well,
and it's I wrote the first chapter. I think it's really good. I'm really happy with it. And I'm starting to plot out how the story's going to go. And I feel really good about it. I'm looking forward to it.
I'm actually also impressed with the long-term plan that Death Set Press
has
here. Your book is coming out 2022?
Yeah, I have to think of we're in 21. Yeah, next year. Yep.
Yep. So long-term planning and probably the same artist, which is good. I mean, they have a...
my understanding, Justin T. Kuntz, something.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, Justin, is doing the same artwork for all of them, which is right. You gotta.
You gotta keep it consistent. They have a thing going. Think down the line, they could sell that as like collections, like a whole box set sort of thing. It's really really cool.
Thunderstorm Books did the specialty release of the first set, which is, and they look great, and it's like, beautiful.
So now that blend though of splatterpunk and Western, like how does that work?
Yeah. I think it worked. Well, the first one that came out that everyone talks about, the Magpie Coffin, is sort of, what the spaghetti Western, right? That was, when the first time that the old John Wayne movies, someone got shot and they just sort of there it is, right?
Yep.
The old John Wayne movies, you get shot and you sort of grab your chest and, you fall and it's dramatic. The spaghetti Westerns, they get shot and you see the blood, you see the shot and they go down and it's more dramatic and it's more intense. And I think they tried to make it, I've seen a lot of stuff on The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, how much Sergio Leone tried to make that like it was that time, that he looked at books that had to do with the Civil War and everything. I mean, little things he did in that movie that they're sort of throwaways.
Mm-hmm.
The guy strapped to the front of a train as it comes into the station. You might not see it, but if you do, you're like, what the heck? And then if you look, there was a reason he did that. It was something historic where someone would be strapped to the front of a freaking train as it's coming in, stuff like that. But I think that sort of was the original sort of splatter Western, the spaghetti Westerns. But of course, we're doing horror. That wasn't horror. And, you amp it up another notch. You bring something else. What if there were these horrors in those stories? You could take The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, and you could put something really, truly nasty and horrific in it, as the books that have been coming out already show us.
What I was thinking about when you're talking is that your theme of isolation.
Yeah.
Well, it's a theme you explore in a lot of your books. It's also a theme that's very common in horror. Yeah, sure, you can say it's a trope, but some tropes are kind of necessary for it at times. It depends. Let's say with Westerns, you have that isolation.
That's it. That's a good point.
You are far away from civilization. You are on your own. It's you your gun, your horse is your transportation. If your horse dies, all right, well, now you're walking, and you're probably
What are you? You're out there.
Yep.
Middle of nowhere.
So it's a perfect setting for a horror. It's like, okay,
It is.
what do you add to it? Okay, you focus on the intensity, the intensity of, I guess, of that fight or flight, or I guess you really focus on like I said, isolation and the grittiness of it all. That
Yeah.
there is no real law and order necessarily, except for like the guy with a gun. He's gonna
Right.
be
Yeah.
your judge, jury, and executioner in certain places. Like I'm thinking Magpie Coffin. Like in that book, it's really intense. Like the blood is crazy, and the horrific elements. Oh man, there's stuff. Well, I don't want to spoil that book, but there's a lot of brutality going on there. And there is a scene in the book that's almost like it's taken from like Texas Chainsaw Massacre or something, kind of like where there's like skinned faces and some weird shit going on.
I remember that scene.
Yeah. So, bam, there you go. You got a horror western.
There's a movie. I feel like it's called Dead Man or Dead Man Walking. Not sure. It has Johnny
Dead
Depp.
Walking. Okay.
Not Dead Man Walking, because I think it's more. I don't know. Dead Man. And anyways, there's Johnny Depp's, and it was a western, and there's a cannibal scene, where they're eating some, and it's really like, oh, what is this? And that's a splatter western, I suppose.
Okay, the name of the movie I'm not getting, but if anyone is watching right now, let us know in the chat. Also, if you watch later on in the comment section, let us know. I'm not going to Google that one. I'll just let the people figure that one out. Yeah. But another one that comes to mind is, have you seen the movie, what's it called? I think Bone Tomahawk?
Bone Tomahawk.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's a great example. Yeah, that's a great movie, too. I really enjoyed that.
Really good movie. And that third act was wild.
It's all about, it's a great traditional Western movie or whatever of the time, in the, like Tombstone or something, right? And then you get to that third act, and like, what the fuck just happened? What are we? This is a horror movie all of a sudden. Yeah. Whoa.
The first time I watched it, I was told it was a horror movie. About an hour in, I was like, where's the horror part? Like, this doesn't seem, I'm not getting it. But
this is a really well done Western. What is this?
But towards the last 30 minutes, you're like, oh, okay, I see what's going on. And good payoff. It's like,
build it up. They did a good job with that one.
Now, are there certain things about horror movies or the horror community, horror writing that really grind your gears, they don't care for?
Well, yeah, I maybe, I don't. I'm more of a fan when it comes to horror movies. I'm more of a fan of older horror movies.
Older stuff.
I'm 39 years old. It's maybe it's a little bit of that nostalgia thing. I don't know, but plenty of good stuff comes out now. But I can watch movies like Return of the Living Dead or Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Evil Dead over and over and over again. Love it. I watch a movie that I enjoy. I'm Just Fucking With You, which is a movie. It was a Hulu After Dark series. It's great. I love it. Loved it. I should say loved it, but I don't want to watch it again. I just don't have the. So something about the newer movies, even if I really like it, I just don't feel like I can watch it over. Whereas I can watch old Vincent Price movies over and over again because I love Vincent Price and I love those old movies. Whatever.
So there's something about the old movies that really, and of course we're talking about horror movies, obviously. But there's something about the old horror movies that stick with you more than like this new stuff that's coming out.
There is, and I would say it was somewhere around the 90s for some reason, And I was a teenager in the 90s. I enjoyed stuff like Event Horizon and Scream or whatever, and I watched Scream actually quite a few times. I don't care to watch it anymore. But I'll watch Return of the Living Dead 3 times a year, or Halloween, ad nauseum, because they're fucking great, and I love them. I could watch them over and over, and every time I feel like I could see something different,
And these are classics we're talking about. I mean, in the horror classics, and I'm like 37. I could rewatch those movies. I have a fondness for the older horror movies.
Right.
But what is it? Is there something about the new horror movies that just don't have the same quality to it? Is it like tired tropes? I mean,
I think it's a combination of things. I think some of it is tired tropes. There's a lot of jump scare bullshit that you see in a lot of these movies. Like I don't know. I'm throwing names out. Okay, I don't.
It's okay.
Movies I've seen, I can't remember, like Insidious or whatever. I don't remember the movie. I've seen it, and I feel like it probably had spooky shit in the house and some jump scare shit, and it's like, oh yeah, who cares?
Insidious is one. Oh, go ahead.
No. Oh, well, and I just threw a name out. I don't know. I don't remember. What really sticks in my head, quite honestly, is Black Mirror. That's the one thing that really, like 50% of those episodes are really good that I actually might want to rewatch.
The first episode, the one with the pig.
Yeah, I remember the one with the pig.
That one was crazy. That's a way to start a series. Holy shit!
They didn't mess around. They started it with a bang. Mm-hmm. The one that actually freaked me out the most was the virtual reality. I think it was like a guy who goes out to some mansion or something out in the hills to test out this virtual reality set, like a video game, and he gets sort of like stuck in it.
Okay.
And he's in it was, that one got me, man, because it really messed with his head. It started to manipulate his brain, and that really freaked me out. And not a lot of things freak me out, but that one got me. It really kind of like, I like that one. There's a ton of good episodes.
So there are some new stuff that you do like, but
absolutely.
But it seems like some of the new stuff, of course, being very general, doesn't really connect. It's like, I wonder, like, you mentioned tired tropes. Like, I see a lot of, you mentioned Insidious. I do agree. That movie did have, like, a lot of jump scares. I'm not one for, like, paranormal movies. I'll watch a lot of horror movies. I'll even really enjoy, like, even the B movies. Like, the ones that are horrible. But, like, something about Insidious, like, the jump scares, it seems really predictable. It's like, okay, I kind of, like,
a lot of times they do seem predictable, don't they? That's one of the things. Like, oh yeah, I've seen this already. Why are we doing this?
You're like,
I look at it like it must be like, oh, it's a Hollywood thing. Oh, we make money off of horror movies. Let's just come up with a generic idea for a horror movie instead of something that's different, new, and interesting. Like how people must have felt when they saw. Maybe not a lot of people saw Texas Chainsaw Massacre when it came out, but I don't know, like Jaws, even just different things that came out at the time. Exorcist, The Omen. Maybe it wasn't, Nightmare on Elm Street. Probably scared the shit out of people.
Yeah, and those movies when they were coming out, they were kind of establishing tropes. They were. There's some movies that came out beforehand, like I'd say, like Black Christmas had the. Okay, well, Psycho, you could say, had like a slasher. It started like the slashing. If you look at Psycho and Black Christmas, they really set the
Town That Dreaded Sundown, which was sort of a mockumentary type of thing, but it kind of even had a slasher feel before.
Yeah. And but of course, and then the movies afterwards, like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and then like Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th. I mean, they were still kind of like. They were still establishing it. It was kind of new then. It was a new thing. Yeah. Especially you think about what they did. Let's say Friday the 13th, the first one, they used a lot of POV shots, which is something I don't see too much in new horror, which is, I guess, is a little jarring to see at first. It's like, whoa, first person perspective. Like, what's going on here? Am I playing a video game? What's going on here? But
that's a good
first
point.
Person perspective is like you don't see who's doing it, but you know what's happening, and that's part of the mystery. So, I kind of wish we would see more of that, maybe a little bit here and there. I say that.
Or more creativity. That was creative, right? At that time, like, well, what can we do? Oh,
Yeah.
well, it's not Jason, it's his mom, but you don't know because you are his mom because that's what you're seeing,
Right.
when that's happening, right?
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, and in Hollywood's like regurgitating these franchises, like Halloween is getting another one, right? Or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, they're making a new Evil Dead. You saw that?
A new one? Wait, after the last new one?
Evil Dead 4.
Oh, Evil Dead 4, huh?
They're filming it.
Wow.
Yeah, they're filming it. It's for real. It's happening. Bruce Campbell's not going to be in it, but he's a producer. He's on it, sort of, to see. So, what's his name? I'm escaping on the director's name. Raimi?
Oh, Sam Raimi.
Sam Raimi. He's not directing it, but he gave like he passed the torch to another director that he feels that will be able to do it just right. And maybe it'll be okay. Maybe it won't. I don't know. At the same time, I'm like, guys, this is like, we say we're tired of the same stuff over and over again. If we like applaud this, aren't we just encouraging the same stuff over and over again? Like, do we want to be principled on this, or do we just be like, well, it's Evil Dead. Evil Dead's good. So, I mean, maybe. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah. See, I'm in the minority. I love the first Evil Dead movie, and when I was younger, I still like the second one, but I used to really like Army of Darkness, and I watch it. God, Bruce Campbell's character, or Ash, he's such a dick. What the fuck? I just don't like Ash in that movie. I don't like it's funny. I just like the first Evil Dead. I don't like any of the other. I saw the play in Las Vegas and I hated it.
Oh, they had a play in Las Vegas? I did not see that. Okay, cool.
There's like some play, squirt blood in the audience and stuff. I just thought, I didn't like it.
War concert, okay.
So I'm not. It was like a Guar concert, right? So I'm not the idea of an Evil Dead 4. That doesn't do anything for me. But I can see why they're doing it because so many people just love anything Evil Dead, the series, all that stuff.
That's right. They want to milk that, and that's why they're doing it. I mean, that's
what it is, right? You want to milk? Well, we can milk this again, huh?
Like they're doing a Scream. They're making a Scream 5. It's like I liked the original Scream. For some reason, Scream gets a lot of hate though. For some reason, I don't quite get it. I like it. I've seen it, but I haven't seen it in years. But I like Scream. Like I think some of the criticism I've read or heard about was like, oh, it's cheesy. It's like, well, it's what do you think? It's like a '90s slasher, and it's making fun of slashers. It's like
exactly.
It was Cabin in the Woods before Cabin in the Woods. It was meta on the whole thing. It was self-aware of what it was doing. It was so crazy.
Exactly. Yeah, it's true.
And then they just made a second one, a third one, a fourth one.
Yeah. We did Scream 1 again for Scream 2. Yeah. Okay. Nice. Whatever.
And in each one, there's like a plot twist. It's like, how many twists can we have? And like, it's like, oh, now her mom wants to kill her. Now I don't know. It's like, what's her name? Sydney? Is her name Sydney?
Sydney. That's not, Sydney. Yeah, I think so.
It's like, how her whole family must want to kill her. Like, maybe she's the problem.
Or Sydney.
But yeah, man, they just regurgitate. They just repeat it.
Yep. So much horror is that, which stinks.
Have you paid any attention to any indie horror movies? They usually pop up on streaming services now.
Not really. I got it, whatever, like anyone, Netflix and this or that. I'll switch them out. I'll get Shudder for a while, Netflix for a while. Yeah, there's a lot. I try stuff out, and I might like something, but the thing is, it hardly ever sticks in my brain like movies used to. Yeah. And so they float in and float out. And sometimes I like it. I'll go onto social media. I kind of like this movie, and I'll write about it. And then the next day, it's out of my brain. I kind of forgot about it already. Mm-hmm. It's weird. That's why I feel like when I mentioned Black Mirror, because that's stuck in my brain. I liked it enough. It's stuck in my brain. Or the movie I'm Just Fucking With You. That one's stuck in my brain. But a lot of things just... There was a movie called like The Room or something. People get a house and there's this weird room where it has a door that goes off into something else. It was really good, but I can't remember. Was that movie called The Room or was it... I don't know, but I liked it. Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes they're named after a gimmick like was it the Quiet Place? It's like,
Yeah.
okay, so the movie's about you have to be quiet. Ooh,
Yeah,
if you
I
make a
remember
noise,
that.
you're gonna get killed. Or which that movie is one of those movies where I watched it. I remember bits and pieces of it, but it's like I look at it
do
like
too.
kind of
like yeah, I saw The Quiet
man.
Place. I remember that.
Oh, was it? Was the other? Oh, Bird Box. Bird Box was another
Yeah.
one where I watched it. I was like, I remember bits and pieces of it, but I was like, come on, like this stuff is kind of silly.
It's very similar to The Quiet Place.
Yeah,
and there was another one called Silence or something. That's there a few, you know.
Mm-hmm. There was a movie. It was Indy. I think it was Indy. Called Hush. It tried to change up the trope a little bit about home invasion by having a disabled person be the victim. She's deaf, so she can't hear anything. So it was like, okay, so you're pretty much having like a Michael Myers sort of situation, like a Halloween situation, except the person can't hear the killer invade. And of course, I mean, it's a movie, and usually the main female character will make it to the end sometimes, be the final girl, and she makes it to the end just fine. Not to spoil it, but I mean that's what's going to happen. They're not going to have a deaf girl get killed in the movie. That would not be progressive. That would not be good now in 2020 or whatever. I think that was 2018. I forgot when that movie was. But
or if you did that, it'd throw everyone. Oh wow, we don't know where this is going to go. They killed the deaf girl in the beginning.
Right,
you could do that.
Right, but in that movie, I was stuck on the premise. I was like, this is insane because this girl can't hear anything, and the killer was right in the room. Could have killed her right then and there, but he realizes she can't hear. So instead of killing her, he was like, "All right, I'm gonna play with her," and then she ends up dying. So it was like,
yeah,
what the hell? Come on. Some of these choices are just so ridiculous. It's like, come on, man. Like, you want me to believe this? You want me to buy? Like, keep it simple. Keep it simple. I don't like when you try to make it overly complicated. It's hard to like really buy into the movie.
It might be that striving to do something different. Well, this is different.
Yeah.
There's a guy who's been living in the walls of this apartment complex, and he has access to. And it's like, really?
Oh, that's a movie too. What movie was that? There was a guy who was living in the house the whole time. I can't remember what it's
called, but I've seen it. Right? Yeah, it is.
What was that movie called?
I'm in the construction business. I know how it is. You don't have access to all the damn apartments from being in the walls. What is this? I mean, maybe in an older building. I don't know. But yeah,
what was the movie? In Candyman, you kind of do some of those old apartments in the projects.
Yeah,
they have a hollow space between.
They do it in such a great. I think it's done in a very. I think it's great. I love Candyman. That's a great movie.
That is cool.
It's almost like a wall that goes into an apartment no one's used forever. So it's, probably burnt out or something, and that's where Candyman lives. It makes sense to me. You have a movie where someone's crawling through all the walls. Like, how is he getting through all these freaking walls? I can't figure this out.
Apparently, Candyman is based on a real situation where someone was murdered in their apartment, and there was no break-in into the apartment, but there was murdered there. So how did this happen? Well, they figured that someone came through the medicine cabinet. Behind the medicine cabinet is a hollow space, a crawl space, and apparently in those old apartments and the projects they have that. It seems like a design flaw. It's like like why would you have that there? What was it for? I don't know, but I could believe that because that's possible. But what else? Oh, as far as indie movies streaming. Man, going with the new stuff, there's a lot of new movies coming out and streaming stuff, and I some of it's just garbage. Some of it's just trash. Like whole movies made like on a camcorder, someone made in their backyard. Stuff I used to do in this thing called Zombie Hunter, okay? But like people put on like on Netflix or whatever. Okay. It's crap. But
there's a lot of that. It seems like there's a glut of that. You're like, this is, what I like is if you can see if the trailer's available, I'll watch that, and then I can at least get a little bit of the quality of what the movie is before I even give it a shot.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes like, ooh,
right.
This one don't look so good, and the acting's really bad. I think I'm gonna pass.
No, and how do you think about that as a horror author? I mean, you see these movies and how they seem like they probably have a crappy script or crappy story. Like, how do you think of that? Like, what's your perspective on that?
That, I don't know. As a horror, well, I think there's a lot of great idea. I think there's a lot of great stories that, people are writing. They're being published. They're really good. They're not being made into a movie, and it's not because an indie author is going, oh no, I want more money than that. It's because nobody's going, hey, we want to make your book into a movie and whatever. I think there's a lot of great ideas that could be movies. I just think they're maybe when people are writing a script, to do an indie movie on a short budget, there's like, oh, well, we could do this, we could do that. And then they fall into maybe the trappings of, oh, well, that's been done before. Everyone's done that. Mm-hmm. Because, we know the episodes of The Twilight Zone are half of them are in one room because it was easy to shoot in one room, but they could do something brilliant with that one room. And then, someone nowadays might think, oh, this is a great idea. We could use this one room and we can do this thing. It's like, oh, you're doing a Twilight Zone episode, but you haven't seen it and you don't know it. And people are going to see it and go, oh, I've seen that before. And I don't know. There are things out there, but I don't think they're really maybe looking far enough, thinking, oh, I can write it. Well, maybe you can't. Maybe you could direct it. Maybe that's what you should do. Maybe you shouldn't write it. Maybe you should find someone else to write it, write something original. I don't know.
One thing I definitely want to ask you here is, as a horror author, how do you feel about when you sell your work, when you sell your story? Like, how does that feel?
Well, it feels great to sell a story. It feels great to sell a book, whatever. But it's hard to do. It's after so many, I've been selling. I've published over, I don't know, like somewhere around 125, 130 stories, novels and novellas, somewhere around 12, 13. And it doesn't get easier to sell them. It's maybe harder, and a lot of it is because there's a lot of great stuff out there. There's a lot of great writers out there writing great stuff, and that's awesome. I can't be mad at that. That's great. It makes it harder for me, because I'm competing with everybody, right? So it's difficult, and I don't like selling myself. I don't like sending out an email like, hey, I got this book and I think you're gonna like it. And a cover letter and a synopsis. I hate that part. It's tough.
You know what? That's a healthy perspective to have there, especially when in relation to with a competition. Like, you're not afraid of the competition. It's something that you recognize is there. There's other authors there. I mean, there's a lot of writers trying to get published.
People write some great stuff out there, and when I see that my book got rejected by a certain publisher, and then I see what they put out, and I go, I didn't know they were sending you manuscripts or you were asking for them or whatever too. No wonder I didn't get in there. Jeez,
Yeah.
And I go, okay, I guess I get it.
Now, are there ever times when you're selling a story or pitching it that you feel like you might be settling?
Well, not anymore, because I think that's what's made it much more difficult for me to sell things. Is I think I'm at a point where I don't want to settle, and so I'm very laser focused on publishers I want to work with, and I don't even bother with anything I don't want to work with. And so I don't sell nearly as much as I used to, because I probably should look a little hard. I probably should. I don't know. It's been a long time, and I don't know. I don't actively seek out things as much as I used to, because I think I have a good idea of what the horror genre and the publishers that are worth their salt, and I focus on those ones.
I mean, you're definitely in a position now where publishers are coming to you asking you to write a story for them. Have you been contacted by other publishers as well? I mean, and you've been contacted by Death's Head Press. Anyone else?
Yeah. They every once in a while get an invite or something to something. Not all that much. It's it's not an easy business to be in. It's not at all, man. It's hard to sell your stuff. It's hard to, you gotta. I don't think I've had a book that has done so well that it really has maybe, I don't know if it boosts you into the next echelon or whatever, where it's like, oh yeah, put your name out there more. It's been difficult, if I feel like it has, And hey, who knows? Maybe it's what I'm writing. I don't know what it is, but I do have, I have fans. I have people that read everything I get. I get messages like, "Oh, I read your last book, I liked," and all that kind of stuff, and that's great. And it builds with each release. It's just, I guess I got to just keep going forward and keep slowly building this thing that I'm working at. And that's kind of where I feel I'm at.
Hey, that's pretty good. So, I mean, what sort of advice would you give to those that are aspiring writers, aspiring authors, and maybe they're trying to pitch their story here and there, trying to sell it, but it's just not. They're like in the beginning stage. Like, what would you tell them?
Well, I would say keep going for it. Keep writing what you like to write. Keep submitting your story. I've had stories that were rejected, 15 times before someone bought it. And I mean bought it, paid money, not just, give it away. You shouldn't give it away. I did at the beginning for, several stories because that's stupid. I didn't realize anything. Just keep going for it.
Oh, you mean like the For the Love?
For the Love, yeah.
Yeah,
I give a few out for the love, Then you get paid for one, like, why the hell did I give anything away? What is this? You don't give it away. Come on.
Yeah, it's true. That is something every writer is gonna have to figure out for their decide. Like, I say that because as a publisher, I started off like For the Love because I didn't have any money to pay out a long time ago.
Yeah,
and you might be in that situation if you're starting up, but like writers shouldn't just sell their stuff for nothing. Like publicity now, exposure, the word exposure. What does exposure mean on the internet when a blog or an anthology on Amazon, is that really exposure if no one knows about it? Like, are you?
Yeah. Exactly. What are you being exposed to? Who's being exposed to you? Nothing. There's no exposure. No one knows it's there.
Right? So if you're going to do a For the Love sort of contract, I would say make sure that you still have like all your other rights. Like make sure it's time limited. First of all, actually make sure it's not exclusive. It better be a non-exclusive contract. And usually with the non-exclusive contracts, they're going to have maybe a little window where it's only going to be at their place for a little bit. Good news is, I mean, unless these contracts are notarized anyway, it's just like an agreement. I mean, like you could publish someplace else anyway, and like, what are they going to do? They're going to take your book, take your story down from what the anthology that they put it in. You really think it could go through that much work? No, they ain't doing that shit. No. So writers know what you have, authors know what you have. Like you, if you're going to do For the Love, then okay, do it, but don't think that contract is like, oh, like you're bound to it and it's forever. What I would say is, don't go back and be like, oh, I want my story taken down now, because it's like, come on, I mean, like, what are you doing? But if you make a desperate agreement, stick with it. But at the same time, it's like you are free to use that story anywhere else you want. And honestly, if it's a good story and it was somewhere else and no one else seen it before, see, that's the thing. If it's been published before, technically it's a reprint, right?
Yeah.
But if someone really likes it, and it's like, well, I want to use this, but it's been published somewhere else, but no one knows of that other thing, maybe you can negotiate with them. And maybe then they'll say, okay, I'll take it, but then can you ask them to take it down or whatever? And then you can navigate that situation, which I've been in situations like that where it's like, okay, yeah, I'll do it. I'll do that just fine. Like there was a story on the Deadman Stone blog or whatever. I was like, yeah, I'll take that down. It's fine.
Yeah. Sure.
but I don't recommend For the Love. Like you got to be careful with it.
Yeah, I don't either.
Protect your property, and what you write is your stuff.
Exactly.
Okay.
I know we're live.
Hmm?
I've got to pee really bad.
Oh, we're almost done. Oh, we're about to wrap up. Right
Okay.
Here. So, first off, I was gonna say, Robert Essig, it's been great having you here on Hard Talk Radio. For those watching, definitely leave a comment and press the like button, share, subscribe, and definitely look forward to Robert Essig's Western splatterpunk from Death Set Press. Yeah. Anyway, you guys take it easy. Have a good one.